Okay, it's firing up now. That's muted.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis. This is Kristen.
Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis. This is MJ.
Good morning, MJ. That's it. We got a really packed house. If you're on the call, please announce yourself.
This is Ted. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Ted.
Good morning, Montalvo family. This is Karen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis. This is Gladys.
Hello, Gladys. How are you?
Good morning, Mr.
I'm
Lewis. This is
blessed.
Kayla.
Mr. Lewis
Morning,
is
Kayla.
Stacy and Kit one.
Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Dr. Calloway.
Dr. Calloway. I got this bone right here that keeps sticking out. Can you help me? Doctor. That's an interesting word.
Good morning, Dr. Lewis. This is Janice. Gotcha.
All righty then, let's get started. We are 11 after, or 1 after 11. Got a few things that I want to jump on before you guys get into your homework. I was talking to somebody, Wednesday afternoon, actually. I was at the grocery store. It was a young person in the line, and they were trying to figure out how best to pay for their groceries. Now, we've all been in the situation where your finances don't meet what you have in the basket, and it's very embarrassing, to say the least. It's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to everybody on this call at one time or another, or if it hasn't yet, it might. I'll put might because hopefully we get in front of any kind of issues like that. So they were asking the cashier to ring up until they got to $20. Now, here's a funny thing about math, and you should practice it. Most people don't. They just kind of go with it and then just wait for the sticker shock at the counter. And one of the things that you don't want to do in that respect is go that route, because you will wind up embarrassing yourself at the counter. Okay? So to eliminate that, there's a thing called carry or carryover. And a carry is basically keeping a tally of what you put in the basket. It's a practice that I started a long time ago because, like I said, once upon a time, you could get a whole basket of food and it wasn't that expensive. Now you have to really calculate. So one of the things that I do on a regular, and I taught this young person in the line how to carry. And how to carry is, as you go into the store, you know how much you have. So you carry that tally in the back of your head. So most, if not all, items in the store have a price tag somewhere in front of it, on it, or what have you. And you have to start a tally of subtracting from the 20 and adding to the total. So that when you get to the register, you're at least within $1 or $2, depending on how many items have that 47 cents and 87 cents and all that. Those are called dollars anyway. So you count them as the next number on that item, and you'll never go wrong. So if something is $4.76, it's $5. So you already know you got 15 to go. See how easy that is? And when I taught that person, that young person, there was 3 people listening to me explain to this young person. Of course, I helped her get her things, but I explained to her how to do it. And the guy that was behind me, the cashier, and the other cashier over here, because it's close, you're not a grocery. They were like, I never thought of it that way. I said, well, if you think about your carry, you shouldn't run into a situation like that. So it's just a public thing that I wanted to share with you guys so that you can even do that. You know, it's not always groceries. You can do it wherever you shop. Just carry the numbers and you will stay within $1 or $2 at the register. And it won't be such an embarrassing situation. Sometimes you can scrape up $1 or whatever out of the bottom of your pocket or purse or what have you. All right, so try to practice carry. That's what that's called, carrying a total. And you're using math inside of your head. You're subtracting and adding in here, not on your fingers, not writing it down. Well, you could do that, but the idea is to practice using this because you already know, do math in your head. Okay, just a quick public notice. Good morning, everyone. Next thing I want to touch on real quick is that we are getting close to the point where everything is getting ready to change permanently. As you notice, President Trump is talking about cryptocurrency. The situation with where our finances are and how stable they are is everyday conversation now. It's not just a hit and miss. It's everyday conversation, and a remedy is imminent, and it's going to be crypto. They're already setting the stage for it if you're paying attention. So I need all of you to start looking at your wallets, start looking at your cold storage if you have one. There is still going to be a advance from me to all of you. We're still going to do that. I just need to get the funds available. All right. So I want to make sure that all of you have the necessary knowledge and or the pieces to participate in your new financial era, to which is going to be released very shortly. I'm thinking this month, around the middle or latter part of this month, it's going to happen. And there's going to be millions, listen to me, millions of people stuck because they're not getting the education that you're getting, or at least the understanding of being able to work in the digital space and understand it. It's one thing to say, yeah, I heard of Bitcoin, but do you understand it? Do you know how to move it? Okay, those are the things that 85% of the rest of America is completely ignorant on. So it's important that you know how to use your devices, that you have them and get used to them, because like I said, it's all going to change, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to wind up back under the control of a bank. And I'm hoping and praying that that's not you. That's the whole reason for this call for you guys, so that you can evolve with it. Remember, we started this call out about evolution of the financial arena. Well, now you're living it. You're actually living a evolution of the next platform that's going to be used as our currency. Okay. So being educated in your money, notice I said money, you'll be able to call it real money because it'll have an asset backing it. It'll give it a real value, unlike the one that you have in your possession at the moment. Okay, so using these devices requires the use of a cell phone, which I'm sure all of you have, the use of either a wallet of your choice that are built on the internet. You're going to need internet. The use of a crypto debit card. I wanted to bring that back up again because I haven't yet seen a bunch of commercials, but I know it's coming, where you're going to see the big banks coming out with crypto debit cards because they want to get in on those transactions, okay, those transaction fees, because they're going to find out that, you know, a lot of people are going to move into their own bank, which I'm encouraging all of you to do, so that you are your own banker. You don't have to ask anybody for anything. You don't have to grovel and put your Social Security out there for them to check to see if you're worthy of it or not. You'll be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, in reason, legally, with your own finances. So that's the whole purpose of this knowledge of evolution. You are actually going through one right now, right in front of you. I hope you're paying attention. The last thing is the bank. And the reason, like I said, I go over these things kind of every now and again just to keep them fresh up here so that you are not, you know, stuck when it comes time to move into it for real. Like I said, which I do believe before the end of March, you're going to see it. So with that being said, the type of bank that you choose is up to you. I think the easiest one to date is Tangem because it only requires the 3 cards or 2 cards, depending on which pack you get. And they've made some pretty nice cards. I don't know if you've been to the website lately, but they have the American flag. They got a bunch of different pictures that they put on the card. Pretty neat. And it works, again, on the cell phone. Once you put the 2 together, you load those cards onto the phone. It opens up an internet site to where everything is handled right on the phone. So there's no issues. It should be quick, extremely quick, as fast as making a text. You can have $100,000 moved. Simple. Numbers like that you're going to hear going forward because, like I said, you're going to see a lot of funds transfer, okay, out of either system that we are currently working with. And that is basically moving forward into a promise delivered when it's ready and continue working with Team Royal, which I'm going to make some decisions on Monday with all of this. So we have to make decisions to move forward. Sometimes it's a hard decision and sometimes it's not, but whichever, you have to have a foundation, financial foundation. And let me say this, since I said that word, any and all information that I discuss on this call is of my own opinion. I do not have license to give financial advice, legal advice, and or what's the third one? Legal, financial, you get the point. Basically, this is my own opinion, and we share opinions to gather knowledge, okay? With that being said, I'm going to turn the floor back over to you guys for the 4 words that we got from last week, if you would. whoever would like to go first, you should be able to unmute or raise your hand.
Mr. Lewis, can I go first?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the first word is consequences. A consequence is what happens as a result of an action, choice, or event. Consequences can be positive or negative depending on what was done. Every action has some kind of consequence, whether big or small. For example, if you stay up too late watching TV, the consequence might be feeling tired the next day. On the other hand, if you go to bed early, the consequence is that you wake up feeling rested and ready for the day. Usury. Usury, which means charging extremely high or unfair interest or on a loan. Hold on, let me restart that. Usury, which means charging extremely high or unfair interest on a loan. It often refers to illegal or unethical lending practices where lenders take advantage of borrowers. Borrowers. For example, a lender gives someone $100 loan, but demands they pay back $200 in a short time. This is usury because the interest rate is unfairly high. Self-assessment.
Assessment.
One more time.
Assessment.
Thank you. Self-assessment. Self-assessment is the process of evaluating your own abilities, actions, or progress. It helps you understand your strengths, weaknesses, and areas for improvement. For example, before a big test, a student reviews their notes and quizzes themselves to see what they know and what they don't know and need to study more. This is self-assessment because they are evaluating their own knowledge. Honesty. Honesty means telling the truth, being trustworthy, and acting with integrity. It means not lying, cheating, or stealing, even when no one is watching. For example, if you accidentally break something at home, being honest means telling your parents what happened instead of hiding it and blaming someone else. And that's it for me.
All right. Great job. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, can I go next?
Yes, please.
Okay. Consequences are the result of a person's actions, either good or bad. If you study hard, the consequences is getting good grades, but if you don't do your homework, the consequences might be failing a test. Some consequences happen right away, while others take time to appear. People face consequences in school, at home, and even in the real world. Understanding consequences help people make better choices. Usury is when someone charges an unfairly high interest rate on a loan. This usually happens when a lender takes advantage of someone who desperately needs money. For example, if a person borrows $2,000, but has to pay back $3,500 in a short time, that's usury. Many countries have laws against it because it can trap people in debt. Usury is considered unethical because it harms those who are already struggling financially. With that being said, it makes me wonder why there's so many title loan businesses in Black communities that seem like legalized usury. Self-assessment is when a person looks at their own skills, actions, or progress to see how they can improve. It helps people figure out what they are good at and what they need to work on. For example, a student might do self-assessment to see if they understand a subject before a big test. It's an important skill because it helps people set goals and get better at things. Being honest and self-assessment makes it more useful. Honesty means telling the truth and being trustworthy in what you say and do. Honest people don't lie, cheat, or steal. Even when No one is watching. For example, if you find money on the ground and return it to the owner, that's honesty. Being honest helps build strong relationships because people know they can trust you. Even though honesty can be difficult, sometimes it's always the right thing to do. And that's it.
Perfect job. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis,
Mr. Lewis, can I go next?
Ladies
Mr. Lewis,
first.
can I go next?
Yes, ma'am.
Consequences is like Newton's third law of motion. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Consequences are the results of what we do and how we act. Good actions lead to reinforcements, while bad actions lead to consequences. Reinforcement consequences are the most desirable because it increases the desired behavior you want from a person. Usury can be considered a crime. It is the act of charging interest on a loan that is higher than what the law allows. A usurer is someone who takes advantage of someone with misfortune. Usury law was created to limit the amount of interest charged on different types of loans. Another name for a usurer is a loan shark. Self-assessment is finding out who you are. It's finding out what your likes and dislikes are, your strengths and weaknesses. Self-assessments could also be the discovery of the ability to understand what you're feeling. Learning about yourself can help identify areas of your life that need improving or could help you make life decisions like a career path. Honesty is telling the truth even when it hurts. It is having honor when it comes to uprightness and defines a person who is absent in stealing, lying, deception, and corruption. Being honest makes you a trustworthy, good, and reliable person. And that's it for me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, so
Can
I
I
had the word from the week before last because I wasn't here last week.
Okay.
All right. Due diligence, the investigation or exercise of care that a person or business would take before entering an agreement. Financial equality. Financial equality is the fair distribution of resources and opportunities regardless of gender or other factors. Corruption. Corruption is when people who has power let that same power get to their heads and behaves dishonestly or fraudulent. Discernment. Discernment is the ability of good judgment.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I go next, Mr. Lewis?
Yes, please.
Okay. Consequences. Consequences are the result or effect of an action or condition. Usury. In our prior classes, when you asked about usury before, I did explain that it's considered a crime and is designed to prevent lenders from taking advantage of borrowers by charging excessive interest rates. Those are usury laws. But to build on that, usury is the act of charging interest on a loan rate or at a rate that is higher than the legal limit. The legal definition is a loan where the interest rate is increasingly higher than the legal limit. It's an agreement to pay a higher interest rate and the intent to gain more than the legal amount. The moral definition is taking advantage of someone's misfortune. Criminal usury is when loans are issued at the illegal rates and is not told to the person who is taking the loan. The usury rates may vary by state, and APR rates are essentially a legal form of usury. The states cap the annual percentage rate on small to mid-sized loans to prevent that. Consequences are the result or effect of any action or condition.
Then self-assessment. Self-assessment is the process of evaluating yourself to understand your weaknesses and strengths. It can help you identify areas in life for improvement. You can use self-assessment to learn about yourself, make decisions, take responsibility, and improve your performance. Ways to perform self-assessment would include reflecting on your work and performance and comparing your performance to your expectations that you have for yourself. Honesty. Aside from being truthful, honesty is speaking and acting truthfully. And it's more than not lying, deceiving, stealing, or cheating. It includes integrity and self-awareness. And that's it for me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, can I go?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Consequences are the results of a decision made in the past. Consequences for extreme situations are sometimes felt deeper in the future. Most of the time, people become overly religious because they don't want to deal with the consequences of their actions. People will commit the most heinous crimes, or they will do something that severely alters the well-being of another person rather than taking accountability for their actions. They would, out of nowhere, start praying, going to God, and judging people for the sins that they commit. When people are under the impression that they're going to be facing a detrimental consequence, it terrifies them, and the idea of getting in trouble makes people do things that they never would have thought they'd do before. However, sometimes consequences can be good. For example, if you make a choice to go to bed early and get an adequate amount of sleep, you will wake up the next morning feeling energetic and not tired. Another example would be spacing out your tasks or homework assignments for the week and completing everything early will allow you to have the good consequence of enjoying your weekend. Usury is charging interest on a loan at a rate that is higher than the maximum rate that the law allows. Apologies. Criminal usury takes place when people are rejected or ineligible for loans through legitimate channels, so they would take the route of going somewhere off the books, which leads to them being robbed. It could also be used in a moral sense in terms of taking advantage of people's misfortunes. Self-assessment is a tool used to evaluate your skills, abilities, and overall performance. It is taking the time to know every strength and every weakness and set the time aside to create short-term and long-term goals in order to improve. Self-assessments are used in most aspects of life, such as personal growth, which allows you to get to know yourself on a deep level so you can begin learning and improving and making smarter decisions. It can also be used for career development, which can help you break down your work preferences and how you're able to complete tasks and how you're able to complete a task in a short period of time or a long period of time. Honesty means to operate in integrity. It means to purposely go out of your way to be truthful with someone rather than be deceitful. It entails a show of respect towards others, and it's also a key representation of self-awareness. It is the foundation of a trusting relationship, and it gives us hope, confidence, reassurance, and improves decision making. To be 100% honest with someone is the best route to take when facing an impossible situation. If you practice the art of telling lies, it will begin to manifest itself in your appearance and in your mental health. As I've mentioned before, lying consistently will affect your frontal lobe, and sooner or later you will begin to believe your own lies, and it'll put you in a place where you are no longer self-aware. Lying contributes to stress, high blood pressure, panic attacks, etc. Being honest will allow people to trust you more. If you are not trustworthy, no one will consider you to handle something of extreme importance. And that's it for me.
Perfect job. Thank you so much. Is that everybody? All right. Let me touch on a few things that you guys just said. And it's important that we use this information to our advantage. The first one is self-assessment. not only is self-assessment mandatory, it's going to help you hit all the rest of these things. So how does that work? Self-assessment and consequences. You already know good from bad. So knowing the consequences and knowing that there are consequences, even though at the present moment they're absent. If you don't believe me, just look at the news. Self-assessment not only gives you a clear understanding of consequences, it also should protect you from usury, because if you're self-aware enough to start a financial journey, then you need to know all the aspects of a financial journey. How do you get money? Where's money coming from? It's same thing. What do you do with the money? If you ever have to borrow, you want to know all the aspects of that contract. Forget the money. What's the contract say? That's self-awareness. You are aware of, you're going into a contract with someone or some business, and you want to take all the opportunity you have before you sign. And Kristen had a good question or statement or thought. Why is there so many title loans in the Black neighborhood? Well, it's basic strategy and the highest form of usury, if you think about it. And it's not just the Black community, it's in the low income community. And that's shared by all now. At one time it was Black, but now everybody's in there. So there's no, quote, targeting a specific group. They are targeting a specific income. Okay. Now, self-awareness would say, okay, I live in a low income situation, so I have to take more time to understand my finances and how to use them properly. You get into situations like the young lady the other day at the grocery store. You don't have enough money, but you still need to eat. What do? You reassess, self-assessment. So it gives you, self-assessment goes far and wide, and it's forever. It's not something that you just learn, okay, I now know it, and that's it. No, self-assessment goes with you until you close your eyes, because you're always going to be self-assessing. Make sure I'm doing this right. Make sure I get this read by an attorney. When you all get 21, or if we're still in this statutory law, which I doubt very seriously, because in the middle of this month, I do believe we're going to come out of it and go into common law. But even at that, what I would like to see all of you do as young people is, as soon as you get 21, which one more year for one, and a few years for the rest of you. The second you become 21, I want you to seek out an attorney. Or if you are in school and what have you, if there's a legal, I guess you could say, if there's anywhere where you can get a hands up on legal terms, start now. Okay. The terms are going to change when the actual law that is practiced on this land is concerned. But until then, until they change it, start getting a little education on legal terms, what they mean. And when you become 21, if we're still in statute law, get an attorney. Legal Shield is probably the easiest way to get involved with that. But you should have an attorney. Don't ever think that, oh, I got straight A's, which is awesome, and I can read a contract. No, you can't, unless you're taking law, okay? Remember me talking about legalese. It's a different set of words, communication, understanding, or comprehension the whole nine. It's a whole different form of communication that is built into law jargon. One word to you may be something totally different in and under maritime law. Okay, like the word understand. You would take that word as to, yeah, I know what it means. No. Understands means when you agree to it, you're standing under the law that that person is pressing on you. Totally different thing, same word. Okay, legalese. So self-assessment is going to be an ongoing thing. Don't think that it was just an homework assignment. I give you these words because these are the things that are going to help you grow quickly into a solid adult. Not just an adult because you're 21, but you will have this to carry with it. Okay? Honesty. Lord have mercy. That word right there is a total day conversation. Might even be a week. It is the hardest thing for us to do as a people, not just specific groups. People in general. The hard part about honesty is no one respects it. I'll say little people respect it. You always got to make sure that you give a person the benefit of the doubt. There are some honest people. I cannot raise my hand because I was not always honest. Like I said, I made some mistakes in my life. Trust what I'm telling you. Don't make the same mistakes by being dishonest or holding a thought that you're bigger and better than someone else. Okay, because of what you can do or shouldn't be doing because of consequences. But honesty is a very difficult word to hold for most people. It is something that also goes along with self-assessment, because a proper self-assessment will keep you honest. Now, you can be honest with people, and there's a proper way to do it, and there's a improper way. The improper way would be to belittle somebody or crush an ego publicly. Okay, you can get with that person on a different level by simply saying, can we speak later? And leave it at that. Get that person on a one-on-one and then go into what you feel was dishonest. Never do it in public. Don't do that, because what that does is create a consequence. You have attacked someone publicly. People get, spun out when they're in public and something said to them and they're caught. They go into defense mode and create another whole situation. They get these huge chips on their shoulders when they're caught. So the proper way to handle someone being dishonest, I don't care who it is, get their attention and request audience later. Can we speak later? That's it. But what it's about, we'll talk then. Never go into, especially if you're challenging someone's honesty, never go into it in public. It always comes out bad, okay? Because a person hates to get caught, especially a liar, someone who is dishonest. Know they're being dishonest. They have the self-assessment. They know the consequences of speaking that lie because they know it wasn't true or real. So when they're caught on it, immediate defense mode. I don't care who it is. Okay? If you wish to challenge somebody on that, do it privately, but let them know publicly that we need to speak. Okay? So you put it out there, but not in all its glory. You'll speak later. That's just one of those things you have to think on your feet. All right? So those two things I wanted to touch on. One more thing I wanted to add. about these banks. Yeah, I'm getting back to it. The banks, I need to explain a little bit more in depth. What is its purpose? So you already know what a bank's purpose is. That's where you save money. That's where you put funds that you want to maintain control of. Okay, not in a checking account where somebody can just debit the account and the money's gone. Or in a savings account, they really can't get to it unless you have checking replenishment, which if your checking account gets debited by a bill and it goes below zero, it'll pull the balance of that bill that they're taking out of your savings. Now you can do that. That's what I have set on mine. Just in case a bill comes in that you didn't remember. But if you do a proper financial foundation or a monthly out somewhere big where you can see it, remember we want to go at least 2 to 3 days prior to a bill's date to keep your credit tight if you need it. I don't think you will, but if you start a good practice, you'll keep a good practice. Put that, I guess you could use a calendar or a bigger one, but put your bills on there so you can see them. I would show you mine, but it's on the wall behind the computer. But what that does is wherever you're sitting or wherever you sit on a normal basis, the eyes wander. It's a normal thing for your eyes to look at stuff. If you're looking up there and if you highlight it in a pretty highlight color or whatever your favorite color is, your eyes will always go to it. So that's what that does is reinstate that this bill needs to be paid on this date because you keep looking at it. You'll see it. You'll walk past it when you go in, out of the room. When you sit down and look up, you'll see it. Those colors are going to catch your eyes. So the bank is set up or should be set up for future. Now, future could be what you decide that future is. You could say, I want to put so much away for my house. House, not apartment. Do not go to an apartment. They're not clean. Don't do it. I don't care how much they charge a month. When you are connected to other people, you are subject to their lifestyle. If they're not clean people and they draw rodents or insects or whatever, you are subject to be under that same environment. So I'm going to make it mandatory for all my young Black financiers that you do not go to an apartment. You're not allowed, because I want you to have your own house, your own home. Difference. If you have to wait a little longer, so be it. Now, I will say this. If you go off to college, you don't have a choice in the matter. You're living with people. If you don't go to college, which is not a bad thing, and you decide to just go to work and all you can afford is an apartment because you should be out of your house. You should be out of the parents' home at 21. Some sooner. But 21, you should be on your own with what you have learned in this course or this conversation. You should be able to handle your finances. You should have a good understanding of evolution. You should understand how to communicate with people, self-assessment, consequences, usury, all the other words that we've gone over. Go back through all the stuff that we went through. Look over it. The more you do that, the more you carry. You're going to hear me use carry a lot going forward because a lot of people stop flexing their brain and it starts to get spongy. Okay, if you don't flex this muscle, it'll get just like anything else, flabby. I don't know nothing. I don't want to know nothing. I don't care. Instead of that, I have a car note to pay. The house that I'm looking at is $360,000. do the math on what's a good payment for that, how much you're going to put down on, that's flexing on top of your normal interactions with people, family, and everybody around you. But my girls, my beautiful queens or princesses, this message is directly to you. You have to do it more than anyone, because being a princess, and that's what you are, don't care if you like it or not, that's what you are. And I have that right to call you that. Being in that arena, you have to look at three things. Three, pay close attention. Self, finance, self. Now that sounds a little selfish, doesn't it? Let me break it down to you. You are in control of you right now. You are deciding who you are, what you're going to do, how you're going to do things, and you are shaping what woman you're going to turn into. You already know consequences from certain things that a young lady could get herself into. And don't think that the guys aren't going to get theirs, because they are. And like I said, things come on to me to speak on them, and that's what I do. Because I'm looking at some really bad situations from mid-adults. I'll explain in a minute. You are in control of who you turn into. So if you are easily guided somewhere, you need to stop that right now. Put an end to that and be your own princess. Do not be a follower just because Brittany's doing it or Caitlin did it. Don't be that person, because you have no foundation at that point. You need to stand on your own square. You know what you will accept as decent, appropriate situations, because that goes both ways. Conversation, where you're at, who you're hanging with, things that they're doing that you've never done before, but now they're doing in front of you to bring you into it. You're in control of that. So you have to, jump on it right now. Who do you want to be when you become 21? Do you want to be the scuttlebutt that everybody passes around? And yes, I said it, because they'll do it. Trust me. Do you want to be a solid young lady that has, one, a goal, two, dedicated to that goal, three, an understanding of consequences? And the word consequences is used here because if you don't have a good foundation to stand on, you will become someone's burden, first to yourself, but you will become someone else's burden. All right? So you're in control of that process right now. Who you hang with, what they do, what you do, and what you allow to be done in front of you. So that could be as simple as smoking a cigarette. You already know the consequences of smoking a cigarette or being around someone who smokes one. Don't allow it. Have standards and stick to them. So self-assessment will give you the ability to be a princess. Treat it with respect. If anybody, I don't care who it is, girls, dudes, whatever, comes to you with disrespect, immediately disconnect that person before you even go a step further. Distance yourself and have that here and here. You can feel who and how a person is if you use this. That last thing, or the middle thing, your finances are you. So what you do, because women and young ladies spend money. I'm just, it is a known fact. It's a known fact. You have more things to buy than we do. You have makeup, you have shoes and all this. There's a lot of extra stuff that become a habit. So if you have a foundation in your finances, you won't spend so quickly and so elaborately. I mean, yes, be beautiful, be who you are, not taking that from you, but you want to be cognitive or understanding of how you spend it. It's a known fact. Don't take it as a disrespect to you. Women spend money, period. So do guys, but not as hard as women. Then I came back to self again. Why did I come back to self on the third one? Simple. What you do now turns into who you will be on the third time. So the third self is where you have a good understanding. Don't be a, I want to use the right word. Be confident, but don't be a butthole. Trying to keep it clean. Confidence is being able to assess self, not a situation that's prior to. You know who to hang around and what have you. But having self-assessment will turn you into a solid, I tell you, a solid, confident princess, and you stay a princess until you get married, by the way. Has all the gumption and understanding of the first two things. Those first two things happen on your way up to 21. Once you become 21, you're an adult, then you have to put all those things in play. If you don't allow yourself to be used, if you don't allow other people to put you in situations that you shouldn't be in, if you do allow yourself to understand finances and build a foundation, the fourth thing is a solid princess, confident. Okay? Same thing goes for the guys, but a slightly different touch. You are the biggest part of honesty, because men, and you are a prince until you become a king. You are a prince until you become a king. You are the foundation of honesty. And why do I say that? We as men and young men are to learn how to respect her. Okay? Now, this is a life thing. It's not a, oh, okay, we'll just do this class, let's talk about it and whatever. No, it's a life thing. So as a young man, even before becoming a teenager, you should understand what the levels are. What are yours? Honesty, self-assessment, financial foundation, self. You got 4. Why is it self up front? Self up front is to first get yourself in order. Self-assessment, honesty, consequences, and usury. All 4 of them are on us, because you can wind up using a princess and destroying a beautiful young lady. Yes, it's our fault sometimes because of how we treat them. So you have to understand first yourself. Do your self-assessment. Make sure that you put the finances in order. How are you going to provide for yourself? How are you going to provide for your home? Those are your responsibilities. When you bring a princess in or a union starts, then it's a double thing. You guys need to be able to what they call yoke, which is agree on things without argument. But you, as a young man or prince, have to understand what it is. And all these 4 words are wrapped up into your foundation. Consequences is number 1. Everything you do from 11 and a half to 21 and beyond have consequences. Everything you do. And everybody looks at you first. Some of us more than others. Usury comes into play when you start dating. Okay? Now, when you start dating as a young man, a lot of responsibility is on your shoulders. Number one, you have to treat her right. That's number one, period, for the rest of your life. Number two, it may be on you financially. If you're going to invite her to the movies, it's on you. When you invite someone out, the financial burden of that agreement is on you, and you should carry it anyway. That's what a true man does. He treats the princess. Now, the usury comes in when you exchange a date for something else. Okay, I'm not going to go into life hacks right now. If you want to know, I'm more than happy to explain it to you, but you know what I'm getting at. Don't be that guy, because then you become dishonest. You become a user, and you operate in usury. Everything you do from that point. Okay? Self-assessment on a date or with speaking to or trying to present yourself to a young lady is all about being confident. Not a butthole, but being confident. Okay? Speak to the young lady, always speak, always open the doors. It's the thing called chivalry. Look that up. As a matter of fact, let's put that on for next week. Chivalry. Let me turn the book over. That's my favorite word. I live by it. And it is displayed to all, not just the young lady that you're dating. You, as a solid young man or prince, should live by this word, chivalry. And that is the respect of the opposite sex. Now, a lot of them don't even know it. And young ladies should know it, but they don't, because it is a lost art. It is a lost respect. Just by, association of the music and things, just the age of disrespect that is now prevalent versus respect. Chivalry is the act of respecting a princess. You have to treat them as such. Open all doors, help them in and out of a vehicle, because they wear dresses. So, or some of them do. So you help them in and out so they're not, exposing themselves and all that good stuff. It's just a treatment that you display that puts her at ease. She should feel comfortable around you. She should be, she should feel protected. So you may have to learn hand-to-hand combat. These are things that make a solid man. I would teach my son how to box or fight or protect, whichever. Learn it. If you don't have it, find it. You should be able to protect yourself without pulling a trigger. But chivalry will teach you how to treat the queen or the princess, which will eventually turn into your queen. So that's all on you. There's a whole thing with that all by itself. The next thing that I wanted to touch on real quick, you as the male are supposed to be honest. Now, you're going to run into a situation known as I like her and I also like her. Two different people competing for you, or you competing for both of them. Don't do that. Because now you're dishonest. You're telling one that I like you, this, that, and the other, and you're telling this one, oh, I like you, that. Okay? Usury. All you're going to do is create a bad situation for you or one of them, depending on where her mind is. If she doesn't get a class like this or information like this to be able to have her own assessment and all that, then she might be fragile. You might have two fragile ones. If you're trying to date more than one person, don't do that. Pick one, stay consistent. It'll work out better for you in the long run. The last thing I want to touch on, like I said, fourth, back to you. When you become 21 or an adult male, you should have all of these four things And guys, there's like a few of you on here. I want you to take these 5 words with chivalry. And I want you to really look at these words and start looking at yourself. Where do you fit in these 5 words? And if you don't know chivalry yet, when you look it up, you'll see what that means. But what I'd like for you to do is put yourself into these 5 words and start building that foundation. Okay? So by the time you turn 21, you will have practiced it so much from the age you are now all the way up to 21 that not only will you be a successful young adult, but you will also shine in ways that young men today have no concept. None. You don't believe me? Turn on any radio, any music. Well, next time you go to the store, look with an eye of discernment. Look at the other young men. What do they look like? How do they sound? How do they operate? Observe everyone all the time. Be able to see 360 degrees. Well, that's impossible. You can't see behind yourself. Yes, you can. You just got to know how to do it. Okay? Observe everything, everybody. Okay? You can do it very cordially. Just simply move a direction and look. You don't have to actually look around. Use your peripheral vision. Start practicing. When can you see your fingers? Just take them side of your head and start wiggling. When can you see them in both eyes? That's your peripheral vision. Use the whole range all the time. No one can ever sneak up on you, ever. Wherever your head is turned, whatever direction it's in, you should see that field of vision. It is up to you to protect the princess. So you should be looking in this range of sight anytime you're with her to keep anything from happening to her. Always protect her first. When she sees that type of young man that she has in front of her, trust me, your relationship will be a lot different than some of the guys that I've seen. You know, they walk up to a car, jump in the car, and she could be carrying a baby. They'll jump in the car and wait for her to put the kid in the car seat and then get in the car. What kind of foolishness? I saw it today. He got in the car. She's carrying his kid or whoever's child. He was in the car already, waiting for her to put the baby in the seat and then get in the car. Took off before she had her seatbelt on. Please use this piece of meat up here. So I owe you 3 more words. Let's go with bank. Chivalry, bank, future deposits, or deposits for future use. That's almost a statement, but you can still use it as a definition or what you think it is. Deposits for future. And then the last word I'm going to put in here, math, carry math. Now, carry math, like I said earlier, is being able to do math inside of your head. Start practicing. If you're not already doing it, great if you are. But if you're not doing it, start now. Okay? And that is being able to carry a balance, subtract from it, or add to it in here. You should see one number here and one number here, either shrinking or growing, or shrinking completely and being consumed. If you can see that in your head, by the time you get to the register, you'll never have a problem. Always count the cents as the next dollar. A lot of people would do the short math of this one was $3.50, this one was $2.12. I only need $5. No, you need 7. Real simple. Do that math in your head. Start doing it quickly. You should be able to do numbers in your head quickly. Okay, so if you are not doing that currently, that's a huge practice. Because let's look at it like this. Let's say that everything is just exploding, and on your Trezor, you'll be able to see your balances anyway, because it's not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to remember it. But in the beginning, you'll be able to. Let's say on your Tangem that you get everything takes off, promise delivered, Team Royal, all that, and you get a nice bonus of $20,000, right? 20,000, boom. You already know, because you're going to move that to your bank. You're not going to put that on a debit card or anything like that. You're going to move that straight to the bank. If you get a bonus like that, you can accumulate, but if you get a large piece, move it directly to the bank. Don't take chances putting it on a hot wallet or on a, crypto debit card. Anything can happen. You want to keep your finances to what you are moving that moment. Okay? So you shouldn't be doing anything out of the bank except depositing over there. Now you can short deposit, which means you would deposit or look at the bulk. Let's say it's $20,000 and you have a crypto debit card and you're in school and you know for a fact that next semester's coming up. You got to get some new books or whatever. You should already have somewhere on that calendar what's expected of you. That's your finances going forward. You're going to take that 20 minus, here's that carry math, 6,000. So how much is going to the bank? 14,000. Real simple math. 20, take away 6. 6 from 10 is 4. 14 goes to the bank. 6 goes on the debit card. All right? Go to school, buy your stuff, take care of that. You're good. If you do this on a regular basis, that is called having a foundation in your finances. You are aware of what your expenditures are, how much you're receiving, and where you're putting it. That's pretty much it. That's for the rest of your life. It doesn't change. The only reason why it changes is because you're not paying attention to one of those 3 things. If you allow the bills to get out of control, if you're not making enough to cover the bills and a deposit, something is out of whack. Fix it immediately. Look at what the bills are, separate them if you have to, do some this day and some before the end of the month so that they're still in the same month, but not all at the same day. If you have to separate them so you can see them better, do that. But don't let them all pile up on one day. You know the money that's coming in is not going to cover that. Don't do that to yourself. That's called off-balance finances. Separate them so they can be taken care of 3 days ahead in the same month, but not all at the same time. That way you can still do the process, which is income coming in, pay the bills, put some away. That's life. All right. So you got your 4 for next week. Any questions? Go ahead and raise your hand if you got questions.
I just got one question. What are the words from last week again?
Last week were consequences, usury, self-assessment, honesty.
got one. Appreciate it, Latala.
Absolutely. Those are the 4 words that we stand on as men. Okay. The other stuff comes later, but those 4 words is what I want you to put on yourself as a young man. Because if you stay in course chivalry, that's this week's, which this week's chivalry, bank, deposits for future, what that is to you, what that means to you. It's not a word, it's a idea. And carry math, which is also a idea. What does that mean to you from what I explained to you? So that's your 4 for the next week. But just try to keep in mindset that those 5 words, honesty, self-assessment, usury, consequences, and chivalry, should mold you into a solid young man that people are proud to have around. Because you do certain things that other ones don't. Open the door for women, not just your girlfriend, mom, auntie, the lady coming to the store that you have no idea who it is. So what? It's a female. Treat them all the same, even though they may not have that self-control or respect for themselves. That doesn't matter. You as a young man, you as a young adult, your responsibility to them is to show them that they are something more than what they think. A lot of them don't even know that they are a princess. Word never passed their lips. The mindset of a princess never even got in their head. You don't believe me? Look how they dress, what they say, how they act. Never even thought the word princess. Okay, that's it for me today. I hope this touched on some hearts, and hopefully you take these words to heart, especially my young men, my princes, not princesses, princes, prince, young male. All right. No questions. Let's go ahead and open up and say good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lewis. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lewis.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Latala.
Good afternoon.
Thank you,
Good
Mr.
afternoon,
Lewis.
Mr. Lewis. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. All right. We'll see you next week.
Thank you once again. Have a great day.
You as well.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lewis.